strategy aims to streamline the activities and movements of the agency's experts and officials to reduce the authorization times of their missions. The power plant construction project initiated by the government runs until 2030. It is intended to meet the increased electricity demands in Burkina Faso. The roadmap of the construction of the nuclear power plant was discussed in March 2024. Additionally, 3 memorandums were signed in October 2023 as part of this construction project, which laid the foundations of cooperations in areas including the use of nuclear energy in industry, agriculture, and medicine. The agreement was signed at the Russia Energy Week in Moscow, which was attended by Burkina Faso's Energy Minister Simon Per Busim. Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed support for this vision at the Russia-Africa Summit last July. Meanwhile, Russian technicians have also arrived in Burkina Faso to contribute to the project's development.
Rose Samara Kate's Fight That Report. From Burkina Faso, we head to the Gambia, where President Adama Barrow's comments about the death of opposition leader Ousainou Darboe have sparked public criticisms. Over the weekend, President Barrow made controversial remarks, stating that he would only relinquish power upon the death of the United Democratic Party leader. His comments have been widely condemned as inappropriate and provocative. Sankule Janko has more in this report.
I will take an oath today that I will remain as president until Ousainou Darboe dies. Until such time that he is dead, I will remain president. That is a contract I have signed. When his death is announced and I attend his funeral, then I will be fulfilled as president and I can step aside.
That was President Adama Barrow addressing his party supporters on Saturday. His remarks about handing over power only upon the death of the opposition and party leader of the United Democratic Party, UDP. Since then, the comments have sparked widespread criticism. Opposition figures and civil society groups have called for Barrow to retract his statements. The United Democratic Party, UDP, issued a press statement condemning President Barrow's remarks in the strongest terms. The party described his comments as disgusting, irresponsible, and dangerous, labeling them as hate speech and a threat to the life and well-being of Ousainou Darboe, especially since the president spoke with much certainty. The UDP also urged the National Human Rights Commission to engage the president about what it described as unstatesmanlike conduct. Additionally, the party demanded that the president tone down his rhetoric, issue a full retraction, and apologize to the Gambian people for consistently bringing the nation's highest office into disrepute. Some Gambians on the streets of Banjul said their thoughts on the president's utterances.
First of all, I will start by saying Barrow should be arrested. I think this time around he went very extreme. Why is Barrow not addressing things that are affecting his citizens?
It's a very damaging remark. This can lead to political violence and tensions within the country. And as a nation, we have far more bigger issues to tackle.
There have been recent speculations among some Gambians that President Barrow might consider not seeking a third term in office. Meanwhile, in a press statement issued on Sunday evening, the NPP said the president's comments were meant to underscore his confidence in the current administration's policies and the belief in continued public support. For Newslink West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Sankule Janko reporting from Banjul.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's take you to Guinea, where the dynamics of civil society organizations have planned a series of protests in Conakry scheduled for July 30 and the 31st, as well as August 1. The organizers are demanding the release of Omar Silla, also known as Fonike Menge, and Mamadou Biloba of the National Front for the Defense of the Constitution, as well as the liberation of the media and improvements in the living conditions of Guineans. This includes access to electricity and reduce prices for basic necessities. To achieve this objective, the organizers have sent an information letter to the president of the special delegation of the commune of Ratoma regarding these protests. However, the public prosecutor's office at the Conakry Court of Appeal stated in the press release that criminal proceedings will be initiated against organizers of these demonstrations in the event of non-compliance with the ban on protest in accordance with Article 41 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. We turn our attention to the diplomatic issues in Liberia now, as a lawmaker Moeman Briggs Mensah is demanding that the United States Chargé d'Affaires to Monrovia, Catherine Rodriguez, be recalled for walking out of the official program marking Liberia's 177th Independence Day. The U.S. diplomat and her entire delegation walked out of the ceremony after the Independence Day orator, Dr. Raptel Nije-Pali, accused Washington of taking more from Liberia than Liberians have received. WADR's Darlington Pogba has a report.
While calling on Liberians to forge new strategic partnerships based on mutual benefits from other countries, the orator Raptel Nije-Pali informed the gathering that the United States has exploited Liberia for decades.
This special relationship only exists in our imagination. Lest we forget, the United States was one of the last countries to recognize our independence. Lest we forget, the United States has taken more from us than it has given. The United States will always serve its own interests above all else.
The orator's remarks immediately prompted the U.S. delegation led by Chargé d'Affaires Catherine Rodriguez to walk out even before President Joseph Boakai could mount the podium to deliver his Independence Day speech. A few minutes later, the United States government, through its embassy in Monrovia, issued a statement indicating that Independence Day celebrations should be a time for hope, unity, and celebration, and that introducing diverse rhetoric and unfounded accusations during such an event undermines its purpose. The statement further explained that the Chargé d'Affaires' decision to walk out was a measured response to maintain the event's decorum and spirit. The United States clarified that it provides foreign assistance amounting to at least $163 million annually to Liberia. Bond County lawmaker Moeman Briggs Mensah, in reaction to the decision by the U.S. delegation to walk out during the orator's speech, criticized the act as disrespectful. She wants the Chargé d'Affaires record.
If you want to be diplomatic, kindly write America to recall the Chargé d'Affaires. But for me, I will ask that she be sent all of Liberia by tomorrow for disrespecting our country, for disrespecting our leader, for disrespecting the three branches of government. We cannot condone this again.
For now, the main opposition, Congress for Democratic Change and the ruling Unity Party, along with several civil society actors, have since criticized the orator for her comments against Washington. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
In Nigeria, the presidency has denied and described as fake a viral statement attributed to President Bola Tinubu ahead of the August #and bad governance protest, in which he announced some immediate reforms. But in a swift reaction, presidential spokesperson Ajuri Ngalari over the weekend emphasized that the statement did not emanate from the presidency. Ngalari's clarification is coming in the wake of numerous inquiries about the authenticity of the statement, which had been widely shared on social media platforms. The fake statement titled Tinubu Speaks claimed that President Tinubu, while pleading with the planners of the impending protest for more time, announced some sweeping reforms, including a 50% slash of his salary and emoluments, as well as those of top government officials. It also claimed that President Tinubu promised that the office of the First Lady will be scrapped and presidential aircrafts will be sold off, while government ministries will be consolidated and fuel and electricity subsidies will be restored. We will bring you more details on this development in our subsequent broadcast. Still in Nigeria, the police has defended its request for the names and other details of the individuals planning to participate in the upcoming nationwide and bad governance protest in August. In a statement issued on Sunday, Nigeria Police spokesman Muyiwa Adejobi explained that the collecting details and about protest participation is standard practice to ensure safety and prevent unlawful activities. From Abuja, Usma Umar reports.
The minister during the town hall meeting emphasized that Abuja, being the seat of Nigeria's government and a hub of infrastructural development, cannot afford to be disrupted by destructive activities.
You know, there are politicians, they want to be in power at all costs. Who are these people who want to do protests? I'm just reading on social media. They have applied to me to grant the Ego Square. Do you apply to me through social media? You write a letter to the minister. I will see you. Who are you? What do you want to do? How many days do you want to spend? How much will you pay?
The warning comes as a growing number of groups and prominent citizens call for caution in the face of the planned protest. Representatives from various groups praised the minister's effort to engage with the community and pledged their support for maintaining peace in the city.
Fellow citizens, consider the insecurity in our country and share your protest, as some unpatriotic citizens will hide under the protest, commit heinous crimes. Continue with the planned protest is to add salt to injury.
On behalf of Christian community, they are saying that, yes, we are suffering, but don't let them use you to achieve their selfish political intention.
Our youth before today, we have met several on different occasions. And I think day before yesterday, we had a town hall engagement consisting of over 48 different associations. And we unanimously agree that FCT, being the symbol of Nigeria, being the national ambience of Nigeria, we say no to the national protest that is about to happen.
As the clock ticks down to August 1, all eyes are on Abuja and other prominent cities like Lagos, Port Harcourt, Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, and others. Will the minister and other stakeholders' warnings be heeded, or will the country be plunged into chaos? Only time will tell. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Violent clashes between Malian army and armed groups leave several dead. Liberian lawmaker demands record of U.S. sachet affairs for walking out during Liberia's 177th Independence Day ceremony. Dynamics of civil society organizations in Guinea announced a series of protests to demand the release of Fonike Mengi and Biloba. Still ahead, AU approves Ghana's President Akufo-Addo's proposal for mobile money interoperation throughout Africa. We do have the press review, guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Thanks for being with us, and we are streaming live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Now to Ghana, where the AU has approved Ghana's President Akufo-Addo's proposal for mobile money interoperation throughout Africa. This was disclosed at the recent AU mid-year coordination meeting held in Accra and chaired by Mauritania's President Mohamed Sheikh El Hazouani. Nadia Tete in Accra reports.
As the AU chairperson for AU financial institutions, President Akufo-Addo highlighted the crucial role of mobile money in promoting economic integration and trade within Africa. His proposal, scaling up interoperability for economic integration using mobile money to buy and sell across Africa, received enthusiastic support, signaling a strong commitment to enhancing financial inclusion and reducing transaction costs across the continent. This initiative aims to facilitate seamless mobile money transactions across national and financial boundaries, thereby making trade smoother and fostering closer economic relations between African nations. The AU's approval of this proposal aligns with its broader objectives of boosting intra-African trade and ensuring economic stability. In his address, President Akufo-Addo emphasized the potential of mobile money interoperability to revolutionize trade, especially for small and medium-sized enterprises and informal sector traders. He asserted that the mobile money technology can dismantle trade barriers, stimulate economic activities, and enable millions of Africans to participate more fully in both continental and global economies. The AU has also called on member states to provide adequate resources for implementing this integration strategy effectively. The AU Commission, in collaboration with the regional economic communities and the African Development Bank, will begin publishing a biennial integration report in 2025 to track progress and address areas for improvement. For WADR, Nadia Tete, Accra.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Let's rejoin Usman Umar in Abuja for the newspaper review.
This is the press review. We begin with This Day newspaper, leading with this story. 3 days to nationwide protests. Nigerians still divided on action. with a couple of riders here. Inspector General of Police, why protesters must register with police. Kwara, Ogun governors, Barrow seek understanding. Peter Obi, of course, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the last general elections, endorses countrywide action. Christian Association of Nigeria, National Nigerian Association of Nigerian Students asks members to shun protests. Of course, there are those who have also spoken for the protest, but have also called for caution, also called for, peaceful demonstrations across the country as against violence as witnessed in October 2020, which has been christened #EndSARS protest. There are a couple of other stories also. Presidency, Tinubu's government will put Nigeria on sound economic footing despite problems, says president in full support of peaceful protests. Of course, that's the second biggest story on the front cover of this day newspaper for today. President Tinubu has also come out a couple of times to say, I am not against peaceful demonstrations. What I am against is violent protests that will lead to destruction of lives and property. Before we take leave of the This Day newspaper, fintech inflation has peaked in Nigeria, will moderate below 25% by year end. And quickly, let's go to our last paper for the day, the Daily Times. The Daily Times proposed nationwide protest, why we demand details of organizers. Police is speaking. There, of course, there was an announcement by the police asking for the details and identity of those who are organizing the protest. And there was a backlash when that announcement was made public. And police is now coming out to say there is a reason why. We want to know those who are behind the protest so that we know who to hold responsible should things go south. And there's a writer to the story. He says Nigeria police holds responsibility to ensure that any activity does not pose threat to national security. Threatening protesters undermines Tinubu's legacy, Amnesty International is saying there. And with all of this, we've come to the end of the press review for this afternoon. It's back to you in the studios.
Thank you, Usman, for the newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, this segment of Newslink takes us to the Gambia, where President Adama Barrow's comments about the death of opposition leader Ousainou Darboe have sparked popular criticism in the Gambia. The Gambian leader made the controversial remarks that he would only relinquish power upon the death of the United Democratic Party leader. Sat Matei is a political expert and executive director of the Center for Policy Development at the University of the Gambia. He weighs in on the impact of President Barrow's statement.
Yeah, I think generally most people agree that that was definitely an unfortunate statement. It was highly not expected to come from the highest office or the person with the highest office in the country. And I think most Gambians are disappointed by the statement. Of course, here, as you know, Gambia is a small society. We're talking about the smallest country in mainland Africa, and where people basically know almost each other. And then, and these are people that have been together in a party for decades, and now today things are turning. But this also highlights the polarizing attitude that is also happening in terms of our politics. And so I think this is definitely not expected, and I think it's also contributing to the military conversations that we have.
What does the president's latest statement mean for the political climate in the Gambia?
So what this does basically for him is that it has this rhetoric kind of have impact on the kind of processes, especially transitional justice process, constitutional process. Even recently, he launched a national dialogue, where I participated, and quite a lot of political actors also participated in terms of just trying to find more way of building consensus rather than getting into this kind of rhetorical political gimmicks that have no interest in terms of addressing the socio-economic question, but more so trying to polarize the country.
Can President Barrow's statement be considered a death threat on the life of the major opposition leader Darboe?
Well, from the unity side, this is how they're saying it. But of course, if you listen to the local line, one might argue that it was more of a joke, it might not be intentional, but this should not come from the president. Whatever his intention is, what is important now is the way that the other people, especially the family of Mr. Darboe and his party, the way they see it, they see it as a threat. And they already saying that if anything happened to him, he'll be held responsible. So this is the reason why, as a president, one has to be presidential, but also be mindful that you're not only a president for yourself or your party, but you're also a president for the entire country. And the kind of statements that one makes is also detrimental to the well-being and the integrity of a society.
How can President Barrow's statement also impact the country's next presidential election?
Well, of course, we had Jammeh when he attacked a particular group. And now, as much as people might disagree with that, he's a respected figure. One has seen him being in the struggle against the dictatorship. People might not vote for him on on many other different points, but he's been respected. He's a respected statesman in this country, and therefore, if you go personal, to an extent, this might backfire. And so we've seen, in the instance, might be two different cases where, and then Jammeh even involved death, but this was a death against a group, and now you're talking about a death against a particular individual, but an individual that has acquired the main opposition. So it creates this whole tension of polarization and all that.
Sad Mate is a political expert and executive director of the Center for Policy Development at the University of the Gambia. Here is Sankule Janko with sports.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The second round of the matches in the Paris 2024 Women's Olympic Games football competitions saw both African representatives, Zambia and Nigeria, suffer defeats on Sunday, complicating their paths to the quarterfinals. In a thrilling 11-goal encounter at the Stade de Nice, Zambia went toe-to-toe with Australia's Matildas, but the Copper Queens suffered a 6-5 defeat in the last minute despite historic hat-trick by Barbara Banda, according to Cavo Visual website. The Zambian captain Banda opened the scoring with a spectacular 30-yard curler just seconds after kickoff. Despite Australia's quick equalizer, Banda went to complete a hat-trick, becoming the first player to score 3 hat-tricks in the Olympic football history. Banda's heroics, coupled with a brace from teammate Rachel Kandananji, weren't enough to secure victory. The Zambians conceded 4 goals as the match approached the hour mark before Michelle Heyman clinched a dramatic lead winner for Australia. Meanwhile, Nigeria's Super Falcons, still reeling from their opening 1-0 loss to Brazil, face a stand test against world champions Spain and stumbled 1-0 from a late goal. Randy Waldrum's side put up a resilient defensive display but struggled to capitalize on their chances. Their resistance was finally broken in the 86th minute when Alexia Putellas scored the decisive goal for Spain directly from a free kick. With 2 losses from 2 matches, both African sides face an uphill battle to qualify for the quarterfinals. Nigeria's hopes hang by a thread as they prepare to face Japan on Wednesday. Zambia will take on a tough Germany side in their final group game on Wednesday. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Krista Mukidi and Maudo Juf for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Niba County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi.